Welcome back. Today, I want to talk to you about something dangerous, yet very subtle. It's not something that screams for your attention, but it does quietly steal your life. This is the danger of staying comfortably numb. Not broken, not shattered, not in chaos, just numb. And you know, when you've been through a lot, numbness can kind of feel safe. It feels like you're in control. It feels manageable. But let me ask you something. When you're sitting in that state, are you just alive? Or are you truly living? Because life does not happen in the monotone existence. It happens in the highs. It happens in the lows. Life happens in the messy, beautiful, uncertain, in-between moments. And the danger is if you flatten your emotional range to avoid pain, you also flatten your capacity to feel joy. So there's a seduction around numbness. So listen carefully. Being numb can be an effective strategy when you're overwhelmed, when you're grieving, when you're in survival mode. Your nervous system will sometimes say, we just need to shut this down. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's wisdom. Sometimes you just got to hold on. It's protection. That is your body actually loving you and your brain. But that state of protection was never meant to become a permanent residence. Because the truth is, rest is powerful, but hiding is dangerous. And there is a difference. You are allowed to rest. You're allowed to pause. You're allowed to catch your breath. But you're not meant to build a house in an emotional shutdown and call it home. Because when you live there too long, you slowly disappear. You know, you become efficient. You become functional. And you become minimally productive. But you stop feeling awe. You stop feeling deep connection. And you stop feeling possibility. And a life without feeling, it's not a full life. It's just existence. And you aren't meant to just exist. You're meant for greater things. So living in that state, you're alive, but you're not living. Yeah, you're still breathing, but you're not really alive. Think about it, because you've been through it. I have. I spent years in these places. You show up to work, you smile politely, you answer the messages, you do what needs to be done. But there's an emptiness inside. And you don't feel anything. And that is the state of comfortably numb. It is safe. It's predictable. And there's no risk of disappointment. But there's also no risk of greatness in this state. Change happens when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change. If you really want to change your life, you just have to get really present to what it's costing you to stay the same. Because that will be the power that moves you forward. But the problem is, in numbness, there's also no pain. So there's no inspiration. There's no push. So if you're sitting in numbness, you're just delaying that moment where you rise above, where you push for something greater, where you dive into risk. Numbness just dulls the pain. But dulling that pain also dulls the fire. But let me say something incredibly clear, something that's become and became incredibly clear in one of the hardest moments of my life, is you do not have to stay comfortably numb. You don't. You don't have to fear discomfort. In fact, your life is waiting for you just on the other side of discomfort. And the truth is, if you cannot meet yourself fully present and meet yourself at the bottom, you will never get to meet yourself at the top. You can't selectively feel. You can't choose to only feel one thing. You're going to feel one thing to the greatness that you can feel the other. You cannot numb sorrow and expect to feel ecstasy. The same heart that breaks it also expands and creates the depth of possibility of love. The same nervous system that trembles in fear also trembles in joy. You were built for the full spectrum. So where do we go from here? Sitting in a state of comfortably numb. There's only one thing that can create momentum in your life, and that's momentum. You get started moving. And this is where this becomes practical. No matter how long you've been down, no matter how many things have gone wrong, no matter how heavy your body feels, you just have to get back up. It's been said, if you cannot run, walk. If you cannot walk, crawl. You just have to get moving. That's it. You do not need a life overhaul. You just need one block. Just walk one block now. Put this in your headphones and walk out the door. And you don't have to do 5 miles, just one block. And then tomorrow you do it again. And then the day after you do it again. And you keep on doing one block until you can do more. And when you can do more, do more. Action creates energy. Energy creates clarity. And clarity creates confidence. And confidence starts to fuel more action. That is momentum. Don't wait to feel ready. Motion creates. Because your brain does not know the difference between a real and a generated hype. You can just generate it. Crank up the music, move your body, jump, shake, clap, breathe deeply. Don't just walk out the door, dance out the door. At first, this is going to feel silly and forced, but do it anyway, and do it over and over and over again. Because the change of your state precedes your life change. Your physiology drives your psychology. Shift your body, and your mind will follow. You're not stuck, you're just stationary. So it's time to move. So what if the comfortably numb state was developed because you're alone and you're lonely? Well, if you are lonely, can't wait for somebody to find you. You literally need to put yourself where people are. Tonight, just one place, a coffee shop, a gym, a community event. You don't have to create a new friendship right away. Just say hi to one person. That's all you have to do. You don't have to step massively out of your comfort zone. Just say hi to one person. You don't have to talk to 10. You don't have to talk to 5. No, just one. And as you create courage, as you create conversation, pick somebody to compliment. Something honest. Maybe you're ready to go for more. Volunteer at something you can get behind, something you believe in. For some people, it may be like a pet rescue. For some people, it may be talking to people at an old folks' home. Maybe for some people, it's volunteering at a race. If you can find your way back to purpose, it will dissolve the isolation you feel. Because service heals the heart. If you're feeling low, if you're feeling sad, find somebody to cheer up, somebody to cheer for. Smile at somebody. Give random compliments. Kindness is emotional oxygen. You cannot stay numb while you're lifting someone else. But the truth is, connection requires courage. And fear is a mile wide, but it's only an inch deep. And standing on the edge feels terrifying. But once you step in, you will realize how truly shallow it is. So step in. What if the thing keeping you numb is your negative thoughts? What if I'm not sure that everybody has negative thoughts. I can only talk about my own mind and the people I've talked to. But I do have a negative internal dialogue. And at times it's been incredibly powerful. And it wasn't until I realized that internal negative dialogue is not who I am. It's an aspect of me, but it's not who I am. That I realized I can argue with. So think of it. If your thoughts are negative, you are allowed to disagree. You can literally say in your head, that is not true. This is just now, not my future. I actually can do hard things. I've done them before, and I've made it through every hard day up till now. I will get through today. Thoughts are not facts. They're suggestions. And you really don't have to accept every suggestion. The truth is, you shouldn't believe everything you think. You are literally able to become the advocate of your own mind. You can talk back, you can redirect, you can replace, you can rehearse strength. The brain actually rewires through repetition. because your intentional disagreement can become belief. And as it becomes belief, your belief becomes identity. And identity shapes your destiny. You're not your worst thought. You're the observer of that thought. And that means you're powerful. As long as you don't surrender to the negative narrative. So think about it like, if you cannot meet yourself at the bottom, if you cannot fully feel what you feel when you're feeling it and feel your way all the way through it right to the end, because the freedom is in the feeling. And if you're sitting in a place of comfortable numb, you're not meeting yourself at the bottom. And the truth is, if you cannot meet yourself at the bottom, you will never get to meet yourself at the top. Because the bottom is that's our university. That's our teacher. It's not meant to create an identity. It's meant to be something that you can overcome, you can rise above, so you can learn the lesson in it. The bottom teaches resilience. The bottom strips away illusion. You discover who you are when no one is clapping. You discover your core when nothing is going right. That's where we forge strength. We don't forge strength in the winning. We forge strength in the overcoming. And yet, these are the problems. These are the points in our life that we want to deny or we don't like. But this is where strength is forged. Do not despise the value of the time that you struggle. The valley is the one that creates the mountain climber. Fear whispers you cannot handle it. Fear exaggerates. It dramatizes. But as soon as you go into action, you step forward into the fear, it shrinks. Because fear is only a mile, it's a mile wide. It's only a mile wide. And when you step in, you realize you're not going to drown, even though that's the fear. When you step in, you'll stand. And when you stand once, it gets easier to stand again. And that is how courage compounds. And that is how numbness dissolves. One brave action at a time. Just like when you got moving, right? Just one block. One block tomorrow. How about one risk? Only one. And one risk tomorrow. The truth is, if you're emotionally exhausted, it's okay to rest. In fact, it's important. You got to maximize recovery in the toughest moments. But rest doesn't mean you quit. It's not okay to quit on yourself. It's really not. And if you have, it's time to stop that. Because you deserve a life that feels alive. Life with color, texture, emotion, depth. You deserve laughter that shakes your ribs, and you deserve tears that cleanse your soul. You deserve connection that electrifies your spirit. But you can't access any of that behind an emotional armor. You have to step out. My image is always on this one. Through life, you create this emotional armor, and it's almost like heavy plated armor, and no one can get through. Nothing gets in. Over the time, through all these situations you've gone through, you create a breastplate, arm plates and leg plates, and a helm. And then to protect yourself from pain, you get a massive shield and a sword. And then it's just you, a tiny child, deep in this armor. Nobody can see, nobody can get through. And when you finally realize that there's no living in the image is you walking along cobblestone path towards the sunset. And you can see how at one point you drop your gauntlets and then your wrist guards. And pieces of armor are strewn along that path. And just before you enter the sunset, you see a child, armor gone, walking into life. Yeah. So start small, one block, one hello, one single call, one disagreement with a negative thought, just one. One song played loud, dance out the door, one brave move. Honestly, you don't have to stay comfortably numb, because as long as your heart is beating and you're breathing, your life is not over. Your spark is not gone. It's just waiting. It's waiting for movement. It's waiting for courage. It's waiting for you. Remember, if you cannot run, then walk. If you cannot walk, then crawl. Just get moving. Because nothing in this life creates momentum like momentum. Step into the fear, feel the depth, and choose to live anyway. This is how you build your own inner advocate. And today, choose to be alive.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Your Inner Advocate, a podcast by Kimmin Peterson, formerly Conversations with Kimmin. If you found value in today's episode, please follow, like, and share the podcast with someone who you think may benefit from it. You can listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and connect on Instagram at your_inner_advocate. Until next time, keep listening to and developing your inner advocate.